everybody. Good afternoon. And this time I would like to outline a very important teaching device in Zen. It's called the Zen Circle. So, right at the beginning, I have to tell you that the Zen Circle originally does not exist. Zen Master Seung Sahn devised it for us to show us the various stages of practice. In the Zen Circle, there are 5 distinct points: 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. 360 is overlapping with 0. What is 0? 0 is the state where you have no questions, no doubts, no problems. Except you have a problem with the world. So the world must fix itself. You are perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. Every single problem is outside yourself. And you are very angry when these problems reach you, and you really want good things from outside when you see them. At this point, whether you and the world are the same or different does not come up. What kind of relationship you have with other people also does not come up. The world is utterly simple. You are you. You have a fixed identity. You want things. You are angry when you don't get them, and you're happy when you get them. You believe your thinking is real. You believe your desire and anger are real, and everything else is not so important, only you. That's 0 degrees. Fortunately, nobody can stay at 0 degrees. Why? One word which we considered much earlier: impermanence. So you see sooner or later that this world is impermanent. Then you have this question: why? Why are we impermanent? Why is this world impermanent? Why do people whom I love die? Why do I lose things with which I'm dealing with on a daily basis, and I like them very much? So the understanding of impermanence goes from this total closed, selfish mind to a basic conceptual understanding how names and forms operate. So at this conceptual level, you can understand that form is emptiness and emptiness is form. It's just understanding. You see that there's an endless succession of names and forms changing, but your observation is just external. You see it in the world. You don't see it so much in yourself. Okay? You see all these changes. You see how cause and effect operate, but you still cannot do anything with it, only observe. So at 90 degrees, your understanding is what we call sufficient. But this kind of understanding is lacking in one important regard. You did not attain it. You did not attain what this understanding is about. You know about Buddha nature, but you haven't attained enlightenment. So that's 90 degrees. 90 degrees is when you truly understand that everything which appeared will disappear. Okay? That's when you understand that wooden Buddhas don't get through the fire, metal Buddhas don't get through the furnace, clay Buddhas don't get through water. Okay? You understand that, but you still did not attain your true self. So then you start looking inside, because you also understand that this world is created by our minds. But where is that mind? What is this mind? Then you start looking inside. And when you start looking inside, that's already 91. And as you look deeper, 92, 90, etc., when you reach 180. At 180, all dualities stop. There's no I, there's no world. No good, no bad. No appearance, no disappearance. So at 180, what we have is no form, no emptiness, no words, no speech. Only this point. When you hear this sound, just like when you hear the moktak sound, thinking stops. There is no dualistic view at that time. There is no you and the world at that time. We call this substance, or Buddha nature, or the Absolute, or the Great Way. There are many, many names to it. But originally, no name, no form. But just this moment, completely clear. Okay? Attaining it is not enough. Starting to use it is necessary. So when you attain your true self, then you start using it, and as your function becomes clear, then you go towards 270. If you read something about the Zen circle, as many of you have, I see it in your eyes, you see that the 270 is called the area of magic and miracle. Any kind of form, any kind of emptiness. So if you want to walk on the water, the book says you walk on water. If you want to fly up in the clouds, you fly up in the clouds. But for us, in this room, that would be pretty fruitless. I would say useless. Why? That's not our problem that we cannot fly in the sky. We can take an airplane. It's also not a problem that we cannot walk on water. You take a ship or a boat. What our problems really at this human level is, we can't fix our relationships. We have a bad job. We have a bad, partner. We have all kinds of problems which we think of as partly beyond our competence, beyond our reach. Something which still the other persons, what the world has to do, not us. So when you reach 270, then you see that you can do it. You can do everything. No hindrance. So 270 is absolute freedom, totally no hindrance mind. So what seemed impossible at 270 becomes 100% possible. How so? At 180, your attainment is not just your attainment. I said that you and this world 100% become one at 180 degrees. That means you attain the substance of all phenomena. Whether internal, external, doesn't matter. Because at 180, outside, inside, totally become one. You and all beings totally become one. So there's the rise, there's the source of wisdom and compassion and power. Okay? And then you can use this. And at 270, if you just prolong the life of the body, if you use this power just for that, again, it's pretty useless because the body has to die. If you perform miracles, then you can be very famous and you can entertain yourself for some time, but you really haven't solved the basic human karma of anger, desire, and ignorance. Look back at history and see what happened, okay? So what's really important that you find your own hindrances and look at them with a direct perception and see what has been impossible now becomes possible. That's the true miracle. Throughout your whole life, you were unable to forgive somebody, but now you can. Throughout your whole life, you thought you cannot fix some relationship, but now you can. You never thought you could shake hands with somebody, but now you can. So from the I cannot comes I can. But the only way to do this is attaining 180. Then great freedom, 270 comes. Okay? Still, this is not the final destination. The final destination is what we call 360, when you finish all your karma. That means mountains will become just mountains. The sky will become just blue. So that means mind 100% clear, all your karmic debts, karmic hindrances totally finished, you're clear. You see mountains as mountains, water as water. But again, if you stop here, How do you save all beings? That is the big question. So stopping at 360 degrees means that the Zen circle just disappears because it finished the job. And you have only one question left with which you can live the rest of your lives, which is, how may I help you? How may I help this world? So then correct function appears. So 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, take it away, and then there's one simple life, the Bodhisattva life, okay? That's our potential. Not just our potential, it's our human duty to realize in one way or another something like this. As long as you deal with only your personal problems, personal ignorance, anger, and desire, you cannot help other beings. I think it's very clear. Look at your own life. Look at human beings' life as a group, and we see only that. If you don't finish your own karma, you don't finish your own debt, you cannot help other people. Okay? This is why this very important saying is always valid, that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So if you look into that, it's not a cynical statement telling you not to help anybody. But first, just like we discussed at the very, very first Dharma talk of this series, and just like the Buddha says, first get enlightenment, then save all beings. Otherwise, blind leads blind. That is the problem. So that's why we say, do the internal job, then do the external job. If you do, as the great teachers, all the patriarchs, and all correct traditions say, you wind up suffering, eliminate suffering. And then we do not have to deal with man-made suffering on this earth. We only have to deal with the 4 major kinds of suffering, which is with us even if we live the best life, which is birth, old age, sickness, and death. So even if we do not make wars, we do not have famine, we do not, do so many bad actions to each other and to nature as human beings, still we have to deal with the 4 major misfortunes. And why can't we deal with that? Because we have all the other man-made, human-made stuff which we have to deal with. And they are far more grave on this earth than just the 4 major kinds of suffering which I have just listed. So if we eliminate human suffering, man-made suffering, still our basic situation would not change. And the only reason why we should get down to this is because nobody else can do it. Nobody else. Okay? This is where I would like to stop the introduction and invite any questions that you might have.
Yeah, my question is basically, you say that the root or the origin is like formless and nameless, or pure, or whatever. But then where did the first karma started?
Where did your question come from?
From my own thinking.
Yeah, how did that start?
That's my question. From logical reasoning, you say that for everything there is a reason, and yet you say that
everything has some karma, otherwise it wouldn't appear. So reason and karma in this case different. Okay? But we're not splitting words. What I would like you to do is look into yourself and ask, where does my thinking come from? In short, where does it come from? Okay? We call this question hwato or hwadu in Korean. There are many kinds of hwadus, but the basic is, where does it come from? What is this? Okay? What am I? This is a very important point. I cannot explain to you where your thinking comes from, but I can show you the way, how to attain it. And I also have to point out that you must walk on this way. Nobody else can do that for you. So the most serious teaching in Zen is that you do it. So if you start practicing and you ask yourself, where does my thinking come from? Or where does it come from? Soon you reach this wall of I think. I think. There's this notion of I. But what is this I? Then you sit with this wadu. What am I? And if you do that courageously, with great faith, if you don't lose this great question, then you attain. My words will not help you. My words help only at the start. Any teacher's words help only at the start. But we cannot walk the path instead of anybody. Okay? More questions?
It's less of a question. It's more, I just am interested in this particular thing. I'm interested in the concept of ego. And I've met a lot of people, teachers, if you will, and I've seen it in them, and therefore I see it in myself. My own ego through seeing other people's ego. And I was just wondering, it's not even a direct question, but just about this sense of ego and what it is and how do we deal with it?
Let me ask you.
Yes.
Who are you?
Kim McDougall. My name is Kim.
Kim. Great.
Kim.
And then what was the rest?
MacDougall.
Ah, very interesting name. But that's just your name. If I changed your name, or you changed your name to Sarah, would that change you?
Well, I feel like it would, but...
You feel? Why? That's good. Why do you feel like that?
Because I'm attached to my name.
Exactly. Attachment means identification. So you identify with your name. And that's why when you change your name, your sense of identity also changes. Okay? So whatever you identify with, and you say, that's me, that's your ego. Your like and dislike mind, your memories, sensory perceptions, whatever, you know? Sometimes you see people in galleries, and they look at paintings, or statues, or sculptures, and say, wow, that's really me. Okay? That means their sense of aesthetics just completely identified with that. It's okay, why not? But when that painting is stolen or lost, what happens to them? Are they also stolen and lost? No. They stay where they are. So that's what we call false identification. So look at this, just like I answered the gentleman before. Look at yourself. If you have this sense of I, where does that come from? What is that? So Zen does not bash this sense of I. You're no good, you have the sense of ego. No, it's human. We use what we have. So we have this sense of I, so why not work with it? Why not use it on the path? It's an immense possibility. Why? Because your ego functions, or the sense of ego functions moment to moment, without failure. So if you keep this question with great courage, what am I? It really turns your mind into a clear mirror of perception. Then when this mirror is really clear, without any blemish, that is, without any attachment, without any false identification, then you see hungry people as hungry, then give them food. Thirsty people as thirsty, give them drink. Okay? Then your situation, relationship, function, all clear. Then it really doesn't matter. Have sense of ego, not have sense of ego. Why? You're not attached to anything. Okay? That means have a sense of I, no problem. Function, clear. Have no sense of I, also okay. Function, clear. Okay? So, again, it's a very dualistic world if you say, if you have I, samsara. No I, nirvana. Okay? It's a very simplistic view. And that's why Nagarjuna, the 14th patriarch, he worked up the 4 propositions and the 100 negations. We're not going to list them here. And that established the middle way. This middle way is the cradle of Zen. Without him, it would be very hard for Taoists to understand Buddhists. But thanks to Nagarjuna and all his fellows, the 14th patriarch, we have the middle way in its most elaborate and fantastic philosophical foundation. It leaves anybody Western in the dust, even today. So let me just share this with you, that when Western philosophers wanted to really understand how human mind works and how this universe works, sooner or later they ended up with Nagarjuna, reading him, trying to understand him. He is still unparalleled. But he was also a practitioner, not just a philosopher. So out of his practice mind and his wisdom came what he said. Getting back to the sense of ego or I, whatever you have, keep clear mind. If you have a sense of I, let it become very clear. If you have no sense of I, also let it become very clear. So take away I. Take away no I. What do you see right now? What do you hear right now? What is your correct function right now? That's what's important. Okay? So when you practice and you have this question, what am I? And you keep this question, you will attain what Bodhidharma talked about as the third answer to Emperor Wu, don't know. Even the second answer, only vast empty space, same. Okay? And then any kind of thinking, no problem. Okay? Thank you very much for your attention.